Hello, good morning. Can you hear me? Cool, good. Sorry for the slight delay. We were uploading the presentation onto the server for recording. Uh, Welcome to this session on mobile and tablet case studies from around the world. My name is Amit Garg. I am one of the founders and director of Bespoke Learning Solutions at Upside Learning. That's my Twitter handle in case you wish to follow or tweet anything and mention me. A quick show of hands. How many people are doing any mobile or tablet learning in their organization? Good. And how many are planning to do in 2014? Substantial, at least 50% that total, which is a good sign. We'll dive in here. The relevance of the presentation, just for a minute. We've been talking about mobile, particularly us as well, and tablet learning for almost 2-3 years now. But it's been difficult for people to get onto that, start with mobile and tablet learning. Most of them are looking for samples, examples, case studies, what others have done. That verification and somebody else saying, yes, this idea is right. What we have tried here is just to show some of the samples that we have worked on in the last 2 years. Hopefully that gives you some ideas, and we'll share some of our learnings on that. As you can imagine, these are things that have been done in the last 2 years to last. Is actually still in development stages. These are not results case studies. These are as in what kind of solution has been proposed to what kind of a problem situation, and what challenges we have faced in creating those solutions. Hopefully we'll learn something from this. Just to set the stage, in terms of screen size, you definitely have the continuum or this extremes between a desktop or a laptop and mobile phones. Even for e-learning and m-learning, that's precisely how most people would think. E-learning is very much onto the PCs and desktops, and mobile learning is onto the smartphones. With tablets, you are kind of unsure whether it is on this side or that side, and that makes it very, very interesting. It's actually dependent on the kind of situation you are in, what kind of solution you want to create, that the development will depend on. Let's say you were to target something which has to go on desktops as well as tablets. So, which is continuously becoming a very, very common case where organizations have distributed tablets to their employees and now want to do some of their e-learning on tablets as well. And it is actually, we've seen the easiest move for companies where whatever they were doing, if they were to start doing it on tablets as well, at least they are becoming a little mobile. Let's not call it mobile learning, but at least their e-learning is becoming a little mobile. But in such cases, you are typically just creating traditional e-learning, what was being done earlier. So some of the case studies also that we'll see today will look like the e-learning that you have seen for many years. But the difference really lies in the way it was created, the technology that has been used, and the challenges that were faced to make it work on tablets first of all. If you were focusing mainly on the mobile side, whether it is just tablets, just smartphones, or both of these, you might be looking at app-based learning, because that gives you offline usage, that gives you better experience. But there is logic to actually do all of those. You'll say, if I'm doing my mobile learning through the web and not in an app format, why not just deliver the same thing on desktops as well? It is a single source solution which I can use across devices, and this is a growing trend, responsive adaptive e-learning, where you want to deliver your e-learning / m-learning, whichever way you want to define it then, onto all devices, which is also consistent with the report that Google had published last year around how people switch from one device to another when they are consuming information. So why not for e-learning? So this fits in very well there, where if your learning solution is amenable to those conditions and contexts, you might go for responsive learning, which will be for all three kinds of devices. Today we have about 8 case studies. Some of them, as you can see, we've not revealed the client names because they didn't want to reveal that. We'll go into each of these one by one and just see what we did there and what kind of challenges we faced. Let's look at the medical devices company. This is a large company based in US. They also have a presence in UK. they have been doing e-learning for many years, but about 2 years ago they distributed tablets to their workforce, a large section of their workforce, and they wanted their e-learning to work on tablets as well. Essentially, it was a conversion of e-learning courses to work on tablets, which is typically what we called M-enablement. They wanted exactly the same look and feel, which is where I think our biggest challenge lied in this project. If anybody has worked on Flash and tried to work on HTML, you would know the difference between the two technologies in terms of what you can really achieve on screen, and SCORM 1.2 compliant. Our solution was, as you would imagine, very simply, as I stated, it was M-enablement. So converted the whole thing which was earlier in Flash to HTML. But what we did was created this player in HTML, which is exactly the same as the Flash player they had, which is something which was kind of a challenge, but yes, that's exactly what client wanted here. So created a bespoke HTML course player in which we loaded all the screens one after the other. All the animations and audio syncs were done using jQuery, which is what HTML would support. It's essentially a JavaScript library. And all the clicks or the rollovers that were there in the Flash programs were converted to clicks. So not really rocket science, but yes, considering that this was done 2 years ago, this was something as one of the earliest programs on M-enablement that we got involved in. Our challenges on this project: no documentation, which is what may happen if you want to do, convert your legacy e-learning program to tablet compliant e-learning today. You might also find that your storyboard doesn't exist, no other documentation exists, but the course exists, the source exists. We also got that. But for interactivities, you really can't find out why was that created, what was the real objective, what were the scenarios expected in the interactivity, and how to reprogram it in a different language. So you have to do some backward engineering to really get this. We discovered that IE, which was so widely prevalent, because now they were putting it into tablets, they didn't want to really use the Flash version. They were just wanting to use this version because they had made some edits also in this content. But the Internet Explorer lower versions, anything less than IE 9, doesn't support anything on HTML5, almost nothing. Especially in this case, rounded corners, shadows, etc. So we had to use everything in images. And then we realized that testing on different browsers and platforms is a real pain. It takes a lot of time and it is expensive. So that could form one of the bigger chunks of your cost on a project where you're looking for M-enablement from Flash to HTML-based e-learning. That's our second case study, which is Vocalect. We are quite proud to be partners with them for over 4 years. 2013, we got a e-learning team of the year award together at e-learning age awards night. We've been working with them on learning management system, on e-learning courses, simulations, and some mobile learning solutions. Again, they were looking at, and their situation was very similar. They had distributed a lot of tablets and they wanted to get existing programs onto tablets, but not exactly the way they were earlier. They were looking to make shorter nuggets. So essentially, people on the move can access those nuggets as a reference tool rather than a replication of e-learning that existed earlier. They are, just to give their background, they're leader in voice-enabled warehousing solutions. They were looking at this library of nuggets to reinforce their ILT programs. They wanted these nuggets to be searchable in the LMS so that anybody on the move, you hold your tablet right now and just search in the LMS and quickly get those nuggets. You need only 2 and you can't go to through the repository of 150. And of course, compatibility with tablets. The solution was to cull out content from the Flash courses and redo that or repackage that into shorter nuggets and convert them to videos. Now the reason why we are converting Flash to videos is because the richness of animations that you get in HTML5 is still not in comparison to what you would get in Flash. And these videos to some extent were already existing in, or animations were already existing in Flash. So we just pulled them out, shortened them. There were some which required updating, there were some which required new storyboards, but most of them were still available. But we essentially cut them down and had interactivities after that. But there were almost 150 such nuggets which were made available, and they were packaged into another HTML player which was to work on the tablets. That's the LMS that they use, in which you can search and you have all the nuggets that are then shown to you as search results. The thing that was to be done here was add some sort of a metadata XML file for the courses which can be searched by the LMS. So both the LMS as well as the courses needed that change. So essentially the LMS also had to be customized to make it search through those programs. So as I said, the storyboard had to be redone in some of the cases where we had to ensure that the interactivities come after the animations, because the animations are now videos where you can't have interactivity. So you have a video clip that plays and then you have an interactivity. If you can't have it after too long, then you have to break it in between. So you have a video interactivity, and that kind of a sequence had to be created. Interestingly, they wanted to use the same solution also on desktops, just in case somebody wants to use it. And as you know, once again, IE8 or anything lower than that would create issues. So we had to actually depend on Flash as the fallback for playing any of those videos. So the videos that I just shared with you, they need a video player. And HTML has its own tags that can be used, but only the latest versions play that. I.e. lower versions would not play that. So you will need a player that can play it. So Flash was used as a player there as well. So essentially we're moving away from Flash, but if you still want to hang on to the desktops which is having a lower version IE, Flash would still be your friend. LMS modified to handle that XML file. Okay, let's look at this Middle East institution, which is actually focusing on social and intellectual progress in the region. So they're doing various programs, libraries and museums and even educational programs. And this initiative is about creating animated audio-driven learning objects, and again, about 200 of them, and targeting learners right from the age of 3 to 16. And it is not curriculum linked, and that's one of the challenge. 3 to 16 is a very wide range of learners. But what they are really looking at is there are people who have not gone to school, who have not been to school, and they might be actually 12 years of age, but they have not studied. So they are still doing things which are to be studied in class 2nd or 3rd or 4th. So it's that wide range and that kind of audience that they are looking for. And it has to be multilingual, both English and Arabic, and tablet compatible. So our solution again is animation-rich, audio-driven program, because it is for children and young age people. And if the not so good animations of HTML won't attract us, they would not attract children. So you have to create animations in Flash, convert it again to videos because they were very rich, and then package separately. And they work both on desktops, tablets. All the interactivities were all coded in HTML. Our challenges are, number one, they want a separate scenario for each learning object, which is 7 to 20 minutes long, but the scenario is different. Like there were two scenarios that I showed, a space voyage and a animal scenario. Now you need to create 150 such different scenarios, which is starting to become challenging. We're still in the middle of the project. Flash is still the most suitable tool for creating rich media animations. If you have to create any rich animation, HTML is really not up to that as of now. Multilingual will need complete resyncing of the program. The audio syncing that you do in a program, because Arabic is roughly about 25-30% longer than English. If you have to communicate the same thing, you take that much longer in Arabic. So if you have to do that, you have to resync the whole program. You can't just replace files, which is again a cost which you need to build in. This is very interesting because we have converted the animations to videos. If you play them on an iOS device, they would play in full screen. iOS uses their own player. So the moment they launch, they would play on a full screen. So we need to create it in such a way that it doesn't look very awkward. But then as of now, there is no real solution to that because different platforms behave differently. So Android will behave differently. iOS behaves differently. On iOS, it would really go and play in the full screen. And this is yet a web-based solution, which is what we are now discovering that they will have to look at some sort of a solution. And we are now discussing creation of a offline player so that learners can download stuff on their tablets and then view it whenever they are, wherever they are. Another case study from Middle East, which is Al Jasser, which is essentially a English language skills app for Saudi travelers, people who travel from Saudi to English-speaking countries. Essentially giving them those language skills to interact with people and get their way around in the region. Offline availability, of course, very critical. They wanted an in-app purchase mechanism in this, which is you can download the app for free and you can get 1 or 2 chapters for free, but after that you have to purchase. So essentially from inside the app, you have to go and purchase the rest of the lessons, which is a challenge as I'll discuss later. And then it has to be multilingual, obviously, because it is for language skills, so they would want to refer back to Arabic. We essentially picked up our own tool or product, Upside to Go, and customized it in terms of dashboard, look and feel, the flow, everything, to achieve their objective of getting this kind of menu. The first row is essentially what they now offer for free. The rest, the moment you click, it will open up a payment gateway. There was also an SMS notification that they had, which was if you have to purchase something or if you have to register, you'll get a SMS notification on your mobile, which you have to then feed into the app. After which you can purchase. This was our biggest challenge on this project. So if you have to create native apps which work on different platforms, every platform has their unique way of handling things. Apple will handle in-app purchases in a very different way than Android and BlackBerry. Luckily, BlackBerry and Android both work with something called One Card, so we could use that. But for Apple, it is their own way, and it takes their own sweet time for this. SMS feature testing was a big challenge for us on this project because the SMS will be sent only to a Saudi number. So if I registered and put in a number which was a UK-based number or an India-based number, I won't get an SMS. So we had to set up a couple of mobile phones in Saudi Arabia to keep testing and then keep coordinating whether you're getting an SMS or not. Zangro, some of you may be familiar with, is a large cleaning solutions company, probably the biggest here in UK. They are the largest chain of janitorial distributors. They wanted to train employees and distributor executives, and they were moving into e-learning for the first time. So this is not really moving into m-learning directly. So they had not done any e-learning, and they wanted to do e-learning as well as tablet learning as well as mobile learning all together. One of the things that they really wanted to do was just-in-time access to product information, so that all of their executives and cleaning staff could have access to actual product information, the relevant product information at that spot. So if I am cleaning right now and I encounter a product, I should be able to get information about this. And they wanted an integrated solution, as you would imagine, all of these things, e-learning, tablet learning, and mobile learning, all of them integrated into one. So what we created was, this is a simple e-learning program. As I said, they would look very similar to your tablet or traditional e-learning programs, but they also work on tablets. And in this case, we also created an adaptive solution for them, which was, it will work both in landscape as well as portrait. Typically, you will find when you put e-learning on tablets, most clients are happy with just doing landscape because we are all familiar with that kind of structure. But here we wanted also the landscape version, so if we rotated, it should not look awkward. So these are actually two separate layouts. So each screen has those kind of layouts. So essentially an adaptive layout for the program. We unified our solutions, the LMS and Upside2Go together to create a unified learning management system for them. This is the mobile part of that, where you could deliver PDF files, you could deliver short videos, you could deliver courses, quizzes, everything that you want onto the mobile devices, and all managed through the single LMS system, which was also delivering their e-learning on tablets as well as desktops. This was the real highlight of the solution in terms of integrating QR code. So if I had my mobile phone and this was the cleaning agent, they printed a QR code on all the cleaning agent bottles. I could scan that and it would load a video, as is shown here, on how to use that product, which was a product user guide, but essentially an animated video converted from the PDF files that they had, and that was now made available, accessible through the QR codes. Landscape versus portrait. Of course, adaptive design became one of our first challenge on this. It was new, and it was different in the way it was. It became iterative for us because you have to check it on both the versions again and again. It took time, so it wasn't really a technical challenge, but it just took time. Like the in-app payment gateway, the QR code integration for 3 different OS systems is again a challenge, because once again the basis remains the same, that 3 platforms have their own way of working. You have to deal with each of them separately and then do this. And once again, Flash became our fallback for lower IE versions. Incidentally, they won the Cleaning Show Innovation Awards last year, which was quite interesting for us. That's a app created as a cable calculator. This was done for an apprenticeship training company, and they wanted to create a tool that could help electricians calculate the size of the cable to be installed in a particular job through an app, because otherwise they do it through paper manuals and books and BS standards and their own calculators and whatever they remember. So it is a slightly unreliable process unless the electrician is very, very experienced. And it is cumbersome, it takes time. So what we did was created an app only for the iOS platform. But as you can see, there are 5 stages in the app. So you fill one screen with the data that you have. You then keep filling the screens. What it keeps doing is, based on the data that you have filled, if it has to shortlist the choices and narrow down those choices for you in the further screens, it would do that. So you don't have to select, so if, let's say, there is incompatibility between the type of wire that you've chosen and the kind of casing that you would need, let's say, for instance, it would already lock it. So you don't have to really go and choose that. So again, a few screens of that. So essentially a native iPhone app for them. Our biggest challenge here was to understand how an electrician really goes through that whole process, because it is dependent on so many parameters, whether it is in a house, in a corporate office, small room, big room, type of electrical that he's really trying to install. There's just so many factors. If you have seen, any one of you have seen the BS standards manuals for anything, you would note that they are so big, and then they have graphs and charts and various things. Our biggest task was really to convert those charts into the app so that that data can be there in the app itself. So you don't have to look up the values. Now what you're doing when you're doing it manually is, you found one value, you go to the chart, you find the other value, you put it somewhere, insert it in another formula, and then calculate. Here, the moment you find this value, it has already found the other value for you, and it's ready to give you the calculation on the basis of the formula that's there after that. And of course, coding complex equations in Objective-C, which was new, and it took a lot of time and a lot of iterations. This solution is still in the final discussion stages. as I said earlier at the beginning, it has not yet been even started in terms of development, but we are finalizing the way we will be implementing it. But it is interesting enough to be shared here. Now, what is happening in this? I'll just give their background. They are a mining contractor in Australia, very large one. Uh, they the how the sites really work, if some of you are aware of that, they have workforce which works for full 7 days at the site and then comes back to the city. The sites could be 1 hour, 2 hours away from the city by flight, as far inside from the cities. So what they have is a workforce which is returning back every week, and a batch which is returning to the site every week. Now a lot changes on the site in a week. you know Various things have happened in 1 week, and they need to be re-educated on what has changed on the site, what is the new condition on the site when they come back to work after a week's leave. Now they are currently doing that as a classroom training program. So they do classroom training program and then fly all of their staff onto the site. What we are planning to do now is to convert that to a tablet based program which can be delivered on the flight itself. So they don't have to waste or invest that 1.5, 2 hours that they are putting in the instructor led training program now. So that can be moved on to the tablets and they can save that time. So in flight training, we are customizing Upside to Go again to support the creation of that content, which will be done by them. We'll not be doing it because it's a weekly thing. So they can't really say it is to be given to a vendor who does it, because it's almost a recurring thing which they need to do it. So we'll create those templates for them the way they want, and they will then be able to deliver and manage that through the system. The flow that we have so far discussed, and which is what seemingly is going to be final, is they would create content in Microsoft PPT. One of them would have a publishing tool, which is the authoring tool through which they will publish, and then they will upload into Upside to Go, which is then to be delivered onto the iPads. Challenges that we potentially see here is this authoring tool flow is going to take some time to settle down. We don't think that it is going to be in the first instance that it will settle down and everybody will be happy with that flow. So it will take some time. And we also see that they may have needs for new templates coming up. So you have done 2 weeks of training, and the third week they say, oh, I need another type of template because the content I need to put in is slightly different this week. But that again should settle down in a few weeks' time. Our last case study is Fred, which is a framework for responsive e-learning development. It's an internal framework, but there are interesting learnings here. But essentially, this is the summation of the learnings that we have had over the last 2 years in terms of how to create e-learning for tablets and mobiles, which is through HTML and also now in a responsive manner. So what we set out to do was we wanted to create a responsive e-learning development tool to be used internally, for our developers, which supports all major platforms and browsers, including the legacy browsers, because that demand for legacy browser integration is not slowing down just as yet. Maybe another year, but then IE8 is still alive. Audio, non-audio courses, multilingual capability, SCORM, Tin Can, accessibility, all of that. Now what we are showing here is essentially some of the templates, how they finally look, and a couple of courses that we have ourselves created on that internally. That's a carousel template where you swipe like this, but that is converted to something very different on a mobile. Similarly, there is a scenario template which gets converted to a scrollable template on a mobile. There's another one where you have clickables and they expand into right side or left side here as well, but here vertically. So the accordion changes from horizontal to vertical. Once again, just to show you, that's a video template and that's a quiz template. Now what we have finally created here is we have 20 unique templates in that, and most of the content we find that normally fits in those kind of templates. We can add more templates when there is a requirement for a project. the HTML4.5 architecture. So it's not completely HTML5. It is HTML4.5 essentially to accommodate the lower versions of the browser. And the audio video integration. Now we can use SVG, Canvas, everything in this. But yes, there's an option because again, the moment you go to IE8, you'll not be able to use any of those. The output can come on through an LMS, or you can even package them as apps through PhoneGap. So it is easily compatible with that. So if you say, let's create an app out of this content, it can be easily created as a performance support app that you can just download on the phone and keep that content. Our key challenges on this, because there were so many templates and we were planning to do how does it look on this device, how does it look on this device, etc. It's been a very iterative process, right from storyboarding to the final testing part. We are still evolving the storyboarding formats for this kind of development, the responsive e-learning development through Fred. We have now reached a stage where we are comfortable with those formats for those templates that we have, but I'm sure as we do more projects on that, that format will continue to evolve. Once again, cannot use all the features of HTML5 due to IE8. So I see Fred getting into versions, soon, where you have updated Fred when IE8 slows down and the demand for IE8 is not there. And testing is a huge effort. Whenever you are creating responsive e-learning, simulators are available and online tools are available, but believe me, none of them are completely reliable. So you ultimately go and depend on the actual device. For instance, you can't really test the performance of a tablet through a desktop-based simulator because it is ultimately using resources of the desktop and not the tablet. How will you test the battery life of a tablet on a simulator? How much battery it takes, etc. There are many things. How does it react when it goes out of the coverage area? So testing is a huge effort, which is where I think Fred brings its best benefit, is that those templates are already tested. So whatever e-learning we create through that or responsive e-learning we create through that would be already tested to a very large extent. So what testing we'll be doing on each project would be very specific to the content and functionality that we have created for that project. I'll finish with this. Because this was case studies, and that's something that not just we have, I think a lot of people over here would have. Look around, get inspired, and get started. The main thing that we've found that people get stuck with that because it's very difficult to move. And as we keep learning with whatever we do, I hope you all will also. If you have any questions or you want to see any of these solutions in detail, we are right here, stall number 112. Thank you.